Did Mitch, did you want to testify? Chair calls Mitch Fuller.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair. I want to make it clear I'm testifying on the bill.
Yes, sir.
On behalf of myself. I just took my...
State your name for the record.
Mitch Fuller. Iraq War veteran, Texas Army National Guard. I'm frankly a little frustrated with part of this debate here a little bit. There's two things going on with this debate right now. There's a constitutional question, which I firmly...
Let's see if you can really make it on. I want to see this. I want to see you thread this needle.
Okay. There's a constitutional question here. In a former life, I was a college professor, so my academic background is political science. So Article 1 of the Constitution gives Congress the right to declare war. Article 2 of the Constitution gives the President of the United States the power to serve as the Commander-in-Chief. So it's
what comes first, one or two?
One's first.
There you go.
That's right. Article 1 is first. So our country has not declared war as a representative. And I appreciate introducing this bill because this larger debate needs to happen. The United States of America totally has not been at war. I mean, I'm talking about the whole country since World War II. There was sacrifice. Every citizen in this country contributed to the war effort. Men and women served. Men and women served back here in factories. Automobile plants were converted to build airplanes and tanks, et cetera. So there's a constitutional debate here, and I think that debate needs to be happening. So we funded the global war on terrorism until about halfway through the Obama administration on a continuing resolution. So the money for the war in Iraq and Afghanistan and the Horn of Africa and the other combat theaters in the global war on terrorism was basically paid for with a credit card. So I feel like I should apologize to my kids. Sorry, we punted. We couldn't figure this out. So the idea that the Congress should declare war, should exercise its powers, absolutely. Because that means that we're all in. The whole country is all in. A little bit about my background. I enlisted in the United States Army Reserves in the mid-90s. So I was enlisted, became a commissioned officer, lived in the Kansas City area for a couple of years, native Oklahoman. I got to Texas as fast as I could. But my combat patch is the T patch, is the Texas Army National Guard. So I promise you, when those planes flew into the Pentagon and the World Trade Center on 9/11, I knew we were at war. I was a United States Army Reserve First Lieutenant. Shortly after that, I transferred to the Texas Army National Guard. So to Representative Tinderholt's point, I understand Title 32 and Title 10 because I've been both of them. But all that money, that's federal code. All that money is federal money. Remember that. You know, this is federal appropriation. So when you're paid in the Texas Army National Guard or the United States Army Reserves, and of course in the Army as well, that's federal money. That's green money, as it were, that is paying you. I went to Iraq in 2005, and so Representative Lopez, to your concept about readiness, I promise you, regardless of the component that you're in, you train to fight. You have to train to fight. And the National Guard, compared to the Army Reserves, and I've served in both, the National Guard, all of its states have a more combat-ready focus. The 36th Infantry Division is the division headquarters of the Texas Army National Guard. So that T-patch is my right shoulder patch. And I'm proud of that. And the year I was in Iraq in 2005, over half the boots on the ground, there were 168,000 troops on the ground in Iraq in 2005, and over half of those were from the National Guard. So there's two things. There's the constitutional question, which I get, but to your point, Mr. Chairman, the President of the United States and the Congress, when we were attacked, and I would argue invaded by Al-Qaeda, when they hit the World Trade Center and they hit the Pentagon, and the heroes that took down the plane in Pennsylvania, God knows where that plane was headed to. It was headed to D.C. probably, to the Capitol or to the White House. That part of this, we have to have the ability to respond. So this is a complicated question. But just as me, as one veteran in combat with the Texas Army National Guard, the Texas Army National Guard has done extraordinary things in Iraq and Afghanistan. Extraordinary things. And General Tracy Norris would testify to that, the current Adjutant General of Texas. There's a 2-star headquarters deployed to Kuwait right now that's running CENTCOM of the Texas Army National Guard. So we can do extraordinary things. And it's been a while since I've been out, but readiness is a critical part of this. It's one total Army concept. So I was with a brigade headquarters, a 56th Brigade Combat Team. So there were 3,000 Texas Army National Guardsmen And we had units of the active component Army assigned to us with the 101st Airborne Division. We worked seamlessly together, and it was proud of that, and it took all of us to do that. So the men and women of the National Guard of the United States, all 54 states and territories that have this, we've made a major contribution to Iraq and Afghanistan. So that's just me, one veteran. Representative Biederman, you got a retired one-star in your district from the Texas Army National Guard, General Jim Bisson. He's awesome. He's a Vietnam War veteran. Ask him what he thinks about our ability to serve in combat. But back to the constitutional question, and that's an important element for our society because we have not declared war. That's an important thing to do. So there was 2 authorizations for the use of force. September 20th, 2001, Operation Enduring Freedom, and then there was a second one in 2002 authorizing Iraq. Personally, I have some thoughts on Iraq, whether or not that we should have done that. And that pains me to say that because I was away from my family for a year and a half. And I had a divorce waiting on me when I got back home. So it cost me my marriage. The separation, cost me. My kids were 5 and 3 when I deployed. So I missed out on a lot of that time. But I knew exactly what I was signing up for when I enlisted in 1995, when I got commissioned in 1999, and when I came to the Texas Army National Guard. I knew what I signed up for. So we got to remember that, regardless of the component that you sign up for. The active component, the reserve component, which is broadly defined, the reserve force, and then the elements of the National Guard. I think we all know what we're signing up for. So I think there's 2 things going on here with this debate. And the constitutional question is very important. Because the entire country has not been at war since World War II, if you really think about it. And here we are on Vietnam War veterans.
Well, we have been at war, it just hasn't been called that.
Hasn't been declared, and those are the words in the Constitution. So,
Mr. Tinderholt.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. I think I've beat up every side of this, right?
I know, absolutely, Representative.
I'm going to take every single opportunity I can to say how amazing Texas National Guard is. I'm going to do it again right now because they kept me alive.
Kept each other alive.
They were that good. I'm not
one
kidding.
One team, one fight. Absolutely.
And I also want to mention something you just said. The costs that soldiers, whether you're a man or a woman, that you deal with when you deploy. And so I want to say thank you to you for deploying and doing when you talked about you had a divorce waiting. Google me. I've had my fair share of that. I kind of chuckle when I say it because I catch heck about it, but it's part of that lifestyle of deployments. But I want to take the opportunity to say thank you to you, and I want to make sure General Norris and the Texas National Guard know that while I was in Iraq on my last deployment, training Iraqi Special Forces, 10 of us for a year, they literally kept me alive. Route security, military police, living with the Iraqis, and these guys were doing their job better than many of the active duty people that I worked with. So I'm saying thank you, but I'm also giving the Texas National Guard a shout out because they don't get enough of it. They are phenomenal at what they do. And all the jokes that we make in active duty were put aside after I saw how they operate. They're absolutely phenomenal.
And when your boots on the ground, thank you, Representative Tinderholt. And I think another good comparison is, I feel like I'm defending the National Guard here, the Texas Army National Guard, but the average age of a National Guard unit, the civilian experience of a National Guard unit, when you get into a place like Iraq and you've got to, hey, who here can run a water treatment plant? There's probably somebody there that can. So the civilian skill set and the ability to improvise, adapt, and overcome, the Guard has that in spades because you typically got it's a little bit older. We're citizen soldiers if you serve in the, you serve in the National Guard. So one team, one fight, Representative Tinderholt. I appreciate that.
Members, any other questions?
Thank you.
You did a good job of
I was
testifying on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.